Hello, everybody. Welcome to our channel, dedicated to reading and analyzing great literary works. Today, we will begin our journey through the iconic book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Let's explore how and why this revolutionary book was written. Get ready for an enriching experience. Now, I will read the introductory text of the book in full. How and Why This Book Was Written by Dale Carnegie, 1936. During the first 35 years of the 20th century, publishers in the United States published more than 200,000 titles. Most were terribly boring, and many were sales failures. What do I mean by many? The president of one of the largest publishing houses in the world confessed to me that after 75 years of experience in the industry, his company was still losing money on 7 out of every 8 books it published. Why, then, did I commit the temerity of writing yet another book? And why should you bother reading it? These are two valid questions, and I will try to answer them. Since 1912, I have taught courses aimed at educating professionals and executives of both sexes in New York. At first, I limited myself to teaching public speaking classes, courses that used real experience to teach adults how to think quickly and express their ideas more clearly, effectively and confidently, both in business meetings and in front of groups. As time passed, however, I came to realize that as much as these adults needed training in effective public speaking, they needed even more training in the fine art of dealing with people in business and in their social contacts. I also realized that I needed this type of training myself. When I look back, I am horrified at my lack of refinement and understanding. How I wish a book like this had fallen into my hands 20 years ago. Social interaction is probably the biggest problem that people face on a daily basis, especially in the corporate world. Yes, this also applies to those who work from home, for architects or engineers. Research carried out a few years ago by the Carnegie Foundation for the Development of Education revealed a fundamental and significant fact, which sometime later was confirmed by other studies conducted by the Carnegie Institute of Technology. Research has revealed that even in technical areas such as engineering, only around 15% of a professional's financial success is due to technical knowledge and 85% to human engineering skills, or rather, to personality and the ability to lead people. For many years, I taught courses at the Engineering Club of Philadelphia and at the New York headquarters of the American Institute of Electrical Engineers. It is likely that more than 1,500 engineers have attended my classes. They came to me when they finally realized, after years of observation and experience, that the highest paid professionals are often not the ones with the most technical knowledge. It is possible to hire for a low salary professionals with good technical skills in areas such as engineering, accounting, architecture, etc. But if the individual has technical knowledge combined with the ability to express ideas, take leadership, and arouse enthusiasm, he is destined to earn much more. At the height of his career, John D. Rockefeller said, "The ability to deal with people is a commodity that can be acquired like sugar or coffee, and I will pay more for this ability than for any other." Knowing this, it would be natural for all higher education institutions to offer courses to develop the most valued skills, right? However, the fact is that, as of this writing, I do not know of a single practical and sensible course of this type offered to adults at a single university in the United States. The University of Chicago and the YMCA schools conducted a survey that cost $25,000 and took 2 years to reveal what adults want to study. The last part of the study was carried out in Meriden, Connecticut, chosen because it is a typical small American town. All adults in Meriden were interviewed. The researchers asked them to answer 156 questions. Questions like, what is your business or profession? Your level of education? How do you spend your free time? What is your income level? What are your hobbies, your ambitions, your problems? What subjects would you be most interested in studying, etc.? The survey revealed that health is the main interest among adults, and that the second interest is people, how to understand and deal with them, how to make them like you, and how to make them think your way. With this information, the committee that conducted the research decided to promote a course of this type for adults in Meriden. they did a careful search for a textbook on the subject, but found none. Finally, they contacted one of the world's leading authorities on adult education and asked if she knew of any books that met the demands of this group. She replied, "No. I know what these adults want, but the book they need hasn't been written yet," she explained. I know from my own experience that the statement was true, as I myself had been looking for a practical and efficient manual on human relations for years. Since the book didn't exist, I wrote one to use in my own courses. And here it is. I hope you like it. As I prepared to write this book, I read everything I could find on the subject: newspaper columns, magazine articles, family court records, texts by ancient philosophers and new psychologists. I also hired a competent researcher to spend a year and a half in various libraries reading everything I had left unread, delving into volumes of psychology, poring over hundreds of magazine articles, scouring countless biographies, trying to ascertain how the great leaders of all ages dealt with people. We read the biographies of these characters, we read the life stories of every great leader, from Julius Caesar to Thomas Edison. I remember we read more than 100 biographies dedicated to Theodore Roosevelt alone. We were determined to spare no time or money to discover every practical idea employed over time to win friends and influence people. I personally interviewed dozens of successful people, some world famous, inventors like Guglielmo Marconi and Thomas Edison, politicians such as Franklin D. Roosevelt and James Farley, business leaders like Owen D. Young, movie stars like Clark Gable and Mary Pickford, and explorers like Martin Johnson. I tried to find out what techniques they used in human relationships. Using all this material, I prepared a short talk, which I called How to Win Friends and Influence People. I say short because at first it was really short, but it soon expanded to become an hour-and-a-half presentation. For years, I gave this talk to adults in courses at the Carnegie Institution in New York. I would give my presentation and ask listeners to go out and apply what they had learned to their business and social contacts, then come back and talk about their experiences and results. What an interesting task. Eager to develop their social skills, these people were fascinated by the idea of working in a new type of laboratory, the first and only human relationships laboratory for adults at that time. This book was not written in the usual sense of the word. He grew up like a child. It grew and developed from this laboratory, from the experiences of thousands of people. When I started, I printed a set of rules on a postcard-sized card. The following season, we printed a larger card, then a flyer, then a series of booklets, each larger and more comprehensive than the last. After 15 years of experiments and research, this book was born. The rules we establish here are not just theories or guesses, they work. As incredible as it may seem, I saw how the application of these principles literally revolutionized the lives of many people. To give an example, a man with 314 employees signed up for one of my courses. For many years, he had pressured, criticized, and condemned his employees relentlessly and without speaking out. Kindness, praise, and encouragement had never left his lips. After studying the principles discussed in this book, this man radically changed his philosophy of life and work. Today, his organization is inspired by a new loyalty, a new enthusiasm, a team spirit. He turned 314 enemies into 314 friends. As he himself said to the class, full of pride, "When I walked around my establishment, no one greeted me. My employees even turned away when they noticed my approach. But now everyone is my friend, and even the janitor calls me by my first name." This executive now has more profit, more free time, and what is infinitely more important, much more happiness at work and at home. Countless salespeople have achieved significant increases in sales by applying the principles in this book. Many gained new customers they had previously tried to win in vain. Executives were given more power and more money. One of them reported a big salary increase because he started applying the ideas in this book. Another, an employee of the Philadelphia Gas Company, was threatened with demotion because of his belligerent temper docoso and his inability to lead people. This program not only saved him from demotion, but also helped him achieve a promotion with a salary increase. On several occasions, spouses who attended the end-of-course dinners reported that they lived in a happier home since the husband or wife began training. many people are amazed at the results, as everything seems to turn into a magic trick. At the height of their enthusiasm, some even called my home on a Sunday because they couldn't wait another 48 hours to report their achievements during the class. One of my students was so excited about a lecture that he discussed it with classmates late into the night. At 3 in the morning, the others left, but he was still so shaken by the realization of his own mistakes, so inspired by the vision of a new and richer world emerging from him, that he could not sleep. In fact, he didn't sleep that night, nor the next day, nor the night after that. And who was he? A naive, unprepared individual, ready to jump at any new theory? No, far from it. He was the owner of an art gallery, a sophisticated, well-known man, fluent in 3 languages, with degrees from 2 European universities. While writing this chapter, I received a letter from a German, an aristocrat with ancestors who, for generations, were army officers of the House of Hohenzollern. The letter had been written aboard an ocean liner and spoke with an almost religious fervor about the application of these principles. Another man, a wealthy New Yorker with a Harvard degree and owner of a large carpet factory, declared, "I learned more in 14 weeks with this training system in the fine art of influencing people than I did in 4 years of college." Absurd? Laughable? Fantastic? Of course, you have the right to ignore this statement and call it whatever you want. I am merely reproducing something this conservative and famously successful man said during a speech given before about 600 people at the Yale Club in New York on the evening of Thursday, February 23, 1933. The famous Professor William James had said, "Compared to what we should be, we are only half awake. We only use a small part of our physical and mental resources. Generally speaking, the individual is far from using their full potential." He has several powers that he doesn't usually use. The sole purpose of this book is to help you discover, develop, and reap the benefits of these dormant, untouched reserves. "Education is the ability to face life's situations," said Dr. John G. Hibben, former president of Princeton University. If you finish reading the 3rd chapter and do not feel at least a little better equipped to face life's situations, I will consider this book a complete failure. Because according to Herbert Spencer, the great aim of education is not knowledge, but action. And this is an action book. Wow, what a powerful and eye-opening introduction to the creation of this iconic book. Carnegie presents us not only with the context of the publishing industry at the time, but also with his personal and professional journey that led him to write this work. Some points that caught my attention. The revelation that 85% of financial success is due to human engineering is a fact that remains relevant today. The extensive research work undertaken by Carnegie, including reading numerous biographies and interviews with successful people, demonstrates the author's commitment to creating truly valuable content. Carnegie's practical approach, testing his teachings with his students and refining them over time, lends credibility to the method. The examples of success shared, like the executive who transformed his workplace, are inspiring and make us want to discover more about these principles. Professor William James's final quote about our dormant potential is an irresistible invitation to continue reading. If you were as intrigued as I was by this introduction, be sure to subscribe to the channel to follow the complete reading of this transformative book. Share in the comments. Which part of this introduction caught your attention the most and why? In the next video, we will begin to explore the principles that Carnegie developed. Activate the bell so you don't miss out. If this content added value to you, please like it and share it with friends who could benefit from this reading. Thanks for following along and see you in the next chapter.